Did you know that many elderly people wake up at exactly 3 in the morning every day? Not because they have trouble sleeping, not because they're in pain, but because, for reasons even they might not fully understand, their hearts are awake long before the sun ever rises. At that hour, when the world is silent and the night holds its breath, they sit quietly, sometimes with a cup of tea, sometimes with just their thoughts. It is in these moments that a hidden story begins to unfold. A story not of dreams, but of memories that return with the silence. Did you know? Many elderly people never truly talk about what crosses their minds at 3 a.m., not because they forget, but because they choose silence. In their twilight years, they begin speaking more to themselves, not out of loneliness, but because they've learned that not everything needs to be explained to the world. They sit quietly, gazing through the window, listening to the sounds of nature, and remembering the little things that once felt ordinary, but now feel deeply meaningful. In that stillness, sometimes they smile, sometimes they take a deep breath, because at that moment, life is no longer about achievements, but about understanding. Did you know? As the years go by, the world no longer moves as fast as it once did. But hidden in that stillness lies a quiet truth. Older souls learn something that many young ones overlook. That silence doesn't mean emptiness. That slowing down isn't weakness. They begin to value time, not by how much they do, but by how deeply they feel every moment. Sipping a warm cup of tea in the early morning, watching sunlight peek through the curtains, listening to the soft ticking of a clock in the quiet night. These are no longer small things. They are moments that awaken gratitude. And in that stillness, they come to know themselves more deeply than in all the busy years that rushed by before. Did you know? The elderly don't wake up early just out of habit. They have a quiet appointment with time itself. At 3 a.m., while the world is still asleep, their hearts are already awake, not chasing anything grand, but simply sitting in silence, whispering to God, and listening to the voice they once ignored. In youth, we chase. In age, they learn to let go. And in that quiet surrender, they discover one thing. Peace doesn't come from outside. It grows from awareness, born in silence. Have you ever noticed? Some things in life are only visible to those who are willing to slow down. The elderly no longer rush through the morning. They don't wake up to chase time. They wake to welcome it. For them, morning isn't just the start of a new day. It's a letter written directly by the universe. Not with ink, but with light, with air, with stillness. They read the morning sun like scripture. Every breeze, every passing second, is not noise, but a message filled with quiet meaning. They no longer live in the race against time, because they know time is an old friend, one to sit with, to remember, not to fight. In that morning silence, they hear answers that were never found in books, but found in life itself. Sometimes, the older a person gets, the more things they choose to keep to themselves. Not because they forget, but because they've learned that not everything needs to be explained. In youth, we rush to explain ourselves, to be understood, accepted, heard. But with age, we slowly realize, peace doesn't come from being understood by others, but from no longer needing their approval. The elderly don't speak much, but when they do, every word feels like a drop of dew falling onto dry earth. Soft, yet deeply touching. They understand that the world doesn't always need fixing. Sometimes, it just needs to be observed, appreciated, and accepted as it is. They've learned that being right is not as important as being at peace. That listening holds more depth than speaking. And from that silence, wisdom grows. Not from books, not from schools, but from wounds, from loss, from hopes once broken and slowly rebuilt. Have you ever noticed how the elderly often smile when they're alone? As if there's a quiet conversation happening, one only they can hear. It's not madness, it's peace. They've made peace with solitude. Once perhaps they feared being alone, but now solitude has become their most honest companion. They no longer seek validation, no longer fight to be heard, no longer beg the world to understand their hearts. Because in the end, what matters most is not how many people understand us, but how deeply we understand ourselves. They know now, life isn't always fair, and that's okay. Not every question needs an answer, and that's okay too. They understand that loss is a part of life. And pain? It doesn't always need to be healed. Sometimes it only needs to be accepted and accompanied. They know that true love isn't always loud. It's in the quiet loyalty, in the presence, even when uninvited. And in their gentle smile, there lives a story of falling, rising, losing, hoping, and loving. Not always seen, but always felt. Have you ever wondered why the elderly seem more patient with the world? Because they've lived through the darkest of days and still found a way to smile the next morning. They've cried in silence, carried wounds no one ever saw, yet still offered warm tea and a gentle smile to their family. They've learned that life isn't always about running fast. Sometimes it's about sitting still and feeling the wind pass by slowly. Once, they too were angry, disappointed, and rebelled against life. But time taught them a priceless lesson. Peace. Not from the world, but from a heart that has made peace with fate. The elderly don't stay quiet because they have nothing to say. They have too many stories, and not all need to be spoken. Some are meant to be felt by those who truly see. And now, in this season of life, they no longer chase praise. They simply wish to be remembered as someone who once loved deeply and lived sincerely. Did you know, sometimes, life doesn't give us answers, only whispers of hope. In their twilight years, the elderly often seek just one thing: to be heard. Not corrected, not dismissed. Just heard. They don't ask the world to change. They simply hope the world remembers that they once lived, once loved, and once dreamed. When you look into the quiet eyes of an elderly soul, perhaps they're not lost. They're just wandering through memories. Laughter long gone, prayers still unanswered. And when we return home, don't forget the ones who wait, with slower steps and fading sight, but a love that never dimmed. Because at the end of life, it's not wealth they seek, but warmth, an embrace, and the gentle words, "I'm here, and I care." And so it goes. Beneath the quiet of night, beneath the routines we often overlook, wisdom quietly grows. Life is not about how fast we run, but how deeply we understand. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to reflect. And if stories like this hold meaning for you, here at Viorna, we'll always be here, whispering wisdom from time to time.